Brendan Nash scored his second 100 in 2 innings as Kent tried to get ahead of Hampshire on the penultimate day of their LV County Championship match at the Spitfire ground St Lawrence in Canterbury. Kent began the third morning on 200 for 1 in reply to Hampshire's 405 for 9 declared, but they lost Daniel Bell-Drummond after half an hour as he edged a drive off James Tomlinson behind after he'd added just 5 to his overnight score of 74. That ended a second wicket partnership of 191, but Rob Key was able to bat on, looking as hungry for his runs as when he started out his career back in 1998. His brilliant 150 arrived half an hour before lunch with a pulled single off Sean Irvine. By now, Key had faced 235 deliveries, 17 of which had brought him boundaries. It was a wonderful effort indeed from the 34-year-old. Nash came into this match on the back of an undefeated 199 in the win over Gloucestershire at Cheltenham last weekend. He'd collapsed on the pitch in the heat on that occasion, bringing a premature end to his inspirational innings, but he showed no signs of having any problems here in the heat as he simply carried on where he left off in that knock with some superb shots which kept his side in the ascendancy. The West Indian international has really come of age in the Championship this season. Key too was able to bat right through the morning, by which time these two were giving their side a great chance of establishing a decent first innings advantage. The former England man then continued to put bat to ball in the afternoon, taking his partnership with Nash into 3 figures in the process, and eventually taking his side to within 64 runs of Hampshire with only 3 wickets down. All of this after Kent had chased down 411 to win their last match. Key looked set for a double 100, but 20 runs short he swung across the line to Danny Briggs and was bowled, a rather odd end to a quite outstanding innings. That left it to Nash to keep on going, and he recorded yet another half-century this summer. This was the 8th time that he'd raised his bat for such a thing, with his 50 coming off 102 deliveries with 6 fours, most of them early on in his innings. He and Ben Harmison, one of the many centurions in Cheltenham last week, now look to get their side into the lead. Indeed, with some big hitters still to come, they would have been hopeful of getting well ahead by the end of proceedings. But 2 quick wickets pegged them back. Part-timer Michael Carberry had Harmison held at slip on 24, while Darren Stevens drilled a return catch to James Vince, which left Kent on 384 for 5, 21 runs behind. The lead was then established by Nash, who now had Geraint Jones for company. The Western Australian-born cricketer had by now gone beyond 800 championship runs for the summer and was again showing no signs of letting up as his second successive century beckoned. It arrived after tea with a tuck 2 off Irvine, which took him to 3 figures for the 4th time this summer. It had again been a superlative innings from one who doesn't garner too much attention either on nor off the field. He'd been at it for 3.5 hours, from which he'd faced 163 balls and struck 12 fours. Some effort once again. The lead stood at 39 when Kent lost their 6th wicket. Jones trapped in front by Irvine for 13, while Nash's knock was ended soon afterwards when he feathered a cut off Liam Dawson into the gloves of Adam Wheater. Nash was gone for a brilliant 126. Tomlinson then did for James Treadwell with a score on 475 and the lead standing at 70. A lead which was added to by a lusty blow from Vernon Philander, the South African belting Carberry into the distance. Philander was out for 23, just shy of the 500. Sohail Tanvir finally getting in the wicket column. And the Pakistani then had Callum Haggett held in the covers for 22, but only after he'd helped his side to a monumental 513 all out, made in 141 overs. That gave Kent a lead of 108 on first innings, but they weren't able to make the most of the 7 overs that remained, with Carberry striking a couple of boundaries before the close. With Kent surpassing their opponents, there is not a lot of room to manoeuvre in order to set up this game on the last day, although some early wickets on the final morning would make that unnecessary anyway. Hampshire will go again on 15 without loss, leaving them at 93 runs adrift.